Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 87th part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fanfic is Ivily. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 87, Reunited at Last. The 6 members of Class 1A were in the room set aside for the session. Izuku and Katsuki were coming up with various plans for people they feared. "Okay, so Smoker is okay?" said Izuku. Katsuki nodded. "About that brother-in-law?" said Katsuki. "Which one?" asked Izuku. "The one that had that thing with Luffy?" asked Katsuki. Izuku shuddered. "No, it won't work," said Izuku. Katsuki looked at Izuku. He realized that it was more of a scary older brother thing than someone who was an enemy. Which made sense for Izuku to fear such a person, as not only was the man they were talking about was an older brother that secretly cared for putting behind his mother's back but was also on par with Luffy. Katsuki knew that if Mirio was his reincarnation it would just be awkward for a while. Which was a better scenario than many that they were coming up with. After all, they weren't sure who Togata was. That was when a somewhat disheveled Hibiki came into the room. "What happened?" asked Izuku. "Don't worry, this has nothing to do with Togata, this has to with Hado," said Hibiki. "What happened?" asked Momo. Hibiki sighed. Flashback. "So we got hit by Priestess, right? That's why I have these memories in my head?" asked Nijire. "Yes, you were," said Hibiki. "Does that mean everyone came from Earthland or is other worlds? Am I able to use magic then again? I can't feel it, so never mind that question." "Wait, you remember your past life too, right? What kind of life did you have?" asked Nijire. Hibiki just stood there as she asked a bunch more rapid-fire questions. End of flashback. I wasn't able to answer any of her questions, however I was able to learn something from one of her questions. "She's from Earthland," said Hibiki. Momo's eyes widened when he said that, as she had told them that was the name of the world she had come from. "It might not be someone I know," said Momo. "Though it sounds like there's a good chance she might be," said Hibiki. "What about the other guy?" asked Katsuki. Hibiki laughed. "Don't worry, the fact that Aoi isn't here means you don't have to worry." Both Izuku and Katsuki knew what that meant, someone they were allied with. "If it's law, we have to keep it going," said Izuku. Katsuki laughed. Law was Luffy's best friend and fellow pirate captain. After Luffy died, if any member of the crew met up with him, they would drag him in on some sort of misadventure. As point, he asked why he kept doing it, and it was in fact Usopp who told him. "You know, it's what Luffy would have wanted," said Usopp. Which only earned Law a facepalm. Because that is exactly what Luffy would have wanted. They had a weird relationship. Hibiki laughed as they were talking about who it might be. Meanwhile, in his room, Togata was staring at the ceiling trying to think of what Hibiki meant. That was when he remembered watching the footage from the first year sports festival and his eyes widened. He recognized the moves, all of them. He then gave the biggest grin imaginable. "I didn't think I'd be able to see him again," said Togata to himself. "I get to eat his food. I didn't think I'd be able to." She now excited for the session because it made sense why Hibiki wanted to know. After all, he did have a lot of enemies in his past life. Someone would target his chef after all. He began to think about who might be the other person from the pirate world. "Hey, it's time for the session," said Aiko. Mirio preferred up and was about to run out of the room. "Hey, I'm supposed to lead you there," yelled Aiko. "Oh yeah," laughed Togata. He grabbed the countdown clock. Aiko gave him the introductions and he followed them. "Tamaki," called out Mirio. His best friend looked at him and looked revived. He was told that Mirio would remain a hero, though might have to keep an eye on him. "Mirio," he said, breathing a sigh of relief. "So you remember too?" said Mirio. Yeah. He sighed. Have you figured out if someone from your past life is here? Asked Mirio. What? He asked. Oh, I found out that there's 2 people from my past life and I know who one of them is, said Mirio. Amajiki's eyes widened in surprise. Don't worry, I'm not replacing you, said Togata. Amajiki's sweat dropped. You found someone from your past life. That is so cool, said Nijire. Yeah. 2, probably, said Togata. Oh, you're so lucky, said Nijire. I wasn't able to get any answers to my questions. Amajiki just sweat dropped knowing what her questions were like. 2 things, you needed time to let him answer, and the other is that maybe you might know someone from your past life, said Aiko. Really? Asked Nijire. Also, please don't hold us up, we're waiting for you, and I really want to see your reunion, said Aiko. Togata realized what she meant. She knew the truth. They got to the door. He should go in first, said Aiko, because it's really important. Amajiki got the feeling that something was going with this reunion. Mirio smiled. He knew that if Izuku was indeed Sanji, it was going to special. He opened the door and he looked at Izuku. He looked at Katsuki. The other 2 looked at the blonde boy, and despite all of their different appearance, they knew. No fucking way, gasped Katsuki. You're, said Izuku. Sanji. Zoro. Togata yelled. He ran over and grabbed both of them into a crushing hug. All 3 of them couldn't help it, they started to cry. I can't live it, cried Izuku, it's really you. The other 4 were confused. He's Luffy's reincarnation, said Hibiki. However, it hit the others right then. Oh no, said Momo. Oh no, said Mashireo. Oh no, sighed Ochako. Oh yeah, laughed Aiko. And it was also when Izuku and Katsuki stopped crying and remembered. Their joy and relief was soon washed away by fear and dread as they were filled with memories, so many memories of stuff Luffy did. Here comes the flashback, laughed Aiko. At the same time, Hibiki remember. Oh shit, I forgot. Luffy is a giant chaos magnet, yelled Hibiki. It's okay, said Toru. That was Mirio realized something and broke the hug. Wait a second, that means you 2 died, yelled Mirio. That was bound to happen, muttered Katsuki. Mirio looked at them. Look, let me explain rules once all of you are inside, said Hibiki. Hey, can we come in now? Said Nijire. Of course, said Hibiki, probably a good idea to try to calm these 3 down. Nijire entered the room. She looked at the 6 members of Class 1A. Much like with Mirio, she knew. Wait. Urza? Asked Nijire. Mira? Asked Momo. Nijire ran in to hug Momo. You're from the same guild, right? Asked Toru. Yeah, we were childhood rivals, to be honest, said Momo. Yeah, in our past lives, but it stopped after something happened, said Nijire. That was when Amajiki walked in, looking like he didn't want to be there, and he really didn't, but understood why. He didn't exactly have a pleasant past life. That was when he looked at Ochako. And they both felt it. Though in this case their bond wasn't close, they could sense they knew each other, but they weren't all that close, so it was kind of awkward. You're not Sasuke, right you? Asked Ochako with a sweat drop. No. I have his hair, said Amajiki face palming. I just realized that. Ochako walked over and comforted him. Sorry for assuming, said Ochako. I'm going to guess you were Hinata, said Amajiki. Oh yeah. said Ochako. It's okay, we weren't that close. I was Shikamaru, said Amajiki. Ochako nodded. They knew each other rather well in their past life. It made sense there wasn't a bond like that. So you're a ninja too? Asked Hibiki. Yeah, said Amajiki. Alright, take seats, and I'll explain the rules, said Hibiki. Mirio took a seat next to Katsuki, as Amajiki took a seat next to him and Ochako. Nijire took a seat next to Momo. Alright. There's a set of rules, said Hibiki. First off, the most important rule, you can't tell anything from outside the group without permission. You can tell anyone your own problems, but when it comes to someone else's problems you can't tell them. The big three all nodded. The second rule, you have to refer to your past lives like it happened to you, said Hibiki. There have been cases the victims tried to distance themselves and what happened wasn't pretty. What happened? Asked Mirio. We'll tell you someday, but now's not a good time, said Hibiki. He hasn't told us yet, said Izuku. Togata flinched knowing that Izuku had been among the first, meaning what happened must have been bad. Rule number 3, use first names or nicknames, said Hibiki. I was an American in my past life, so that helps. He also liked to gives us all nicknames, muttered Katsuki. Everyone from 1A sweat dropped. Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? Asked Mashareo. Probably not a good idea to say anything, said Toru. Rule 4, don't talk about your deaths. I don't want to talk about mine, and I'm sure you don't want to talk about yours. Unless you have a very good reasons or it's darkly funny, said Hibiki. Also keep quiet about deaths you know from the other worlds. They were quiet. That was when it hit Izuku. I accidentally broke the rules earlier, said Izuku. Hibiki sighed. Was it involving Luffy and telling your dad? Asked Hibiki. Yeah, said Izuku, and can you please stop calling All Might that? Well, I'm making expectation for that, because you didn't know, and he almost died recently, so I'll let it slide in this time only. Wait, why did he call All Might your dad? Asked Togata. Well, Mirio. Oh, All Might's my mentor and everyone compares him to my dad, said Izuku blushing. It also didn't help that Icy Hot accused you of being his secret love child, snorted Katsuki. Izuku blushed even further. Wow, you guys are so different, said Mirio. Yeah, different personalities and shit, muttered Katsuki. Mirio started to laugh. And you guys got switched, that's funny, laughed Mirio. Even your hair color. Izuku just sighed. It's karma, laughed Katsuki. Also a fifth rule, said Hibiki. You are not implanting that rule, muttered Momo, giving him an Urza glare. Hibiki sweat drop. Fine, muttered Hibiki. The big three were confused. When Katsuki regained his memories, he tried to implement a rule about no inside jokes, explained Toru. Seriously? Asked Amajiki. Well, Tamaki. Hibiki sighed. Anyways, I should introduce my assistant first, said Hibiki. If you were wondering who I was, I'm his AI assassin Aiko, but my name is really Ada.K.O. It stands for Artificial Intelligence Knows Objectivity, said Aiko. Objectively what? Asked Nijire. That I'm better than you, said Aiko as the repeating horn sound effect played. That made the big three sweat drop. Okay, said Hibiki. Hibiki introduced himself to the three, properly explaining his past life, about how he was hero and some of the stuff he did as a hero. Okay, so it's better if you three go first, said Hibiki. Probably better to rip off the band-aid. You first, Tintin. Mirio laughed, knowing that he was being referred. Wait before you go. I have to complain about your nickname, said Aiko. Volt Boy is a better nickname. It makes so much more sense. I have to look up who Vault Boy is. Sighed Hibiki with a sweat drop. I'm Mirio Togata, and I was a pirate captain named Luffy in my past life. Said Mirio, knowing he should introduce himself to the 6 younger students and explain the past to life to the other big 3. Yeah, a lot. Said Achiko with a sweat drop. Yeah. I'm sure you heard a lot. Said Mirio. Wait. We might need another tracking bracelet. Said Izuku. Tracking bracelet? Asked Mirio. Me and Katsuki have them because don't have a sense of direction. Explained Mashireo. Wait, why do yours look different? Asked Mirio. Because he's still in a state of near constant denial that he doesn't get lost. Sighed Izuku in Sanji mode. Oh, that sounds about right. Laughed Mirio. What the fuck does that mean? Yelled Katsuki. Oh, I also know how directions and temperatures work, so don't worry, I won't get lost anymore. Laughed Mirio. Really? Asked Izuku. Yeah, it's the same with the whole hero thing. Laughed Mirio. Izuku cried in relief. He didn't have to deal with 3 of them. It wasn't so bad with Mashireo, as he was very self-aware, but dealing with 2 stubborn idiots would have been too much. You're going to have to explain that later. Said Hibiki. Yeah. Said Mirio, figuring that was something his past life to explain. Because even he could tell that he was much smarter than Luffy. Can I go next? Asked Nijire. Sure, go ahead. Said Miro. I'm Nijire Hato. And in my past life I was Mirajane Strauss. I was a member of Fairy Tail, and like I said, I was Urza's childhood rival. Said Nijire. She noticed Mirio and Tamaki's confused looks. Oh yeah, I should explain better. It means I was a mage. Said Nijire. So you know magic? Asked Mirio. But it's weird. Said Nijire, I can't feel it. Yeah, I can explain. The quirk can't recreate body parts. Said Hibiki. We don't have chakra coils. Said Achiko. Or magical containers. Said Momo. Oh, that's too bad. Said Nijire. Tamaki sighed, figures. He mumbled. I can use Haki though. Said Mirio. Yeah, but that doesn't require a body part. Said Izuku. Oh, that makes sense. Said Mirio. But yeah. I knew magic. Which is what a mage can do. Said Nijire. Tamaki sighed, as it was clear that Nijire was done. Do I have to? He asked. He seemed to be shrinking in on himself. Are you okay? Asked Achiko. He's really shy. Said Mirio. It's okay. You can do it. Said Nijire. You know about the Leaf Village, right? He said, avoiding everyone's eyes. Well, I was a ninja's as well as top strategist, and my name was Shikamaru Nara. He looked at Achiko. We went to school together and sometimes went on missions, but he was closer to Naruto than me. Said Achiko. Tamaki nodded. You told them about Naruto? Asked Tamaki. There was a session on spouses. Said Achiko quietly. Tamaki nodded. Can I go next? Asked Toru. A good idea, Mashireo, go after Toru since you two are the 2 that no one knows. Said Hibiki. Mashireo nodded as Toru explained her past life. However, she had to tell them about the fact that she was still in contact with some friends. Whoa! Really? Asked Mirio. We get to meet magical talking ponies? Asked Nijire. Well, maybe one day. Said Toru, but I don't know when. Also, you don't want to meet Discord. Said Momo. Why? Asked Nijire. He is latterly a spirit of chaos. Pointed out Mashireo with a sweat drop. This made the big three sweat drop, unsure how to respond. Afterward Mashireo introduced himself, followed by Achiko while explaining a few details how she knew Tamaki in her past life. Afterwards Momo went, also going into the whole guild and magic thing for Mirio and Tamaki. Afterward Izuku went and also explained the three of them were on the same crew. "I can't believe you guys died 2 years after me," muttered Mirio, getting grump about it. He then blinked, realizing that that wasn't normal. "What was that?" asked Mirio. "Personality shifts," said Hibiki. "Yeah, depending on how different you are, they can happen rarely or often," said Izuku. "It happens a lot to me." "Oh, that does make sense," said Mirio. "You know, it might be something you have to talk about," sighed Hibiki. "As long as you don't go into details, I'm sure it's fine to talk about the timeline." "You died more than 2 years before," muttered Katsuki. "What?" asked Mirio. "Actually, I never said anything before, but we decided more than a year apart," said Izuku. Katsuki's eyes widened. That was something bothering him for a while. "Something I should tell you, is that remember it rarely happened, but it's something I should explain," said Hibiki. "Expect for Equestria, don't think the other worlds have a 1:1 timeline to this. From the rare other people who know each other, there's at least one case of 2 friends who found each other died only days apart, but one was more than a year older. In fact, Sito and Righteous Fury were born in the same month. We don't know how far apart they died, but I get the feeling that it wasn't in the same year, so don't use that 2 years as a guideline." "It's Aoi told me once," said Aiko. "Time isn't linear, it's more like a big ball of timey-wimey stuff." "Why he tell you that?" asked Izuku with a sweat drop. "It was meme he accidentally made in his old world. It's a long story involving a stable time loop and DVD Easter eggs," explained Aiko. "The story is a lot darker than it sounds." This just made everyone sweat drop, leaving them with a lot of questions. That was when a note suddenly appeared in front of Toru. "The multiversal reincarnation is far more complicated than that, but yeah, the timeline will be wonky all over the place. Read Toru." "Where did that note come from?" asked Nijire. "Discord," said Toru. "Anyway," said Hibiki, "we got one more left." Katsuki sighed. He knew why he went last. He wouldn't be surprised if they remembered. He gave his interjection. Mirio remembered the bullying. "Oh, what the hell, Katsuki?" yelled Mirio. "Why did you bully him?" "I didn't know about our bond," yelled Katsuki, who was clearly on the verge of crying. "I fucked up big time. I was an idiot and I know how much I fucked up." Mirio looked at Katsuki. Even he could see the guilt he was going through. Hibiki sighed. With all this time he knew Katsuki, he knew what needed to be done. "I'll see if there's a time where you two could spar," said Hibiki. Both of them quickly realized what he meant by that, a chance to smack some sense into each other. Though it would be mostly for Katsuki. It might be this evening or sometime tomorrow. "We'll see," said Hibiki. Katsuki and Mirio nodded, knowing that he figured that out as well. All three of them sighed, remembering that epic fight they had in their past life shortly before Luffy turned himself in. It was a good thing said fight happened on a sparsely populated island. Because that was one giant epic fight. "We have a lot of time left, you should get to know each other more," said Hibiki, changing the subject. Nijire was about to ask questions, but Tamaki stopped her. "Let them ask their questions first," he said. The conversation actually ended up being about quirks. When it got to Tamaki, this happened. "Wait, you can transform into what you eat?" asked Izuku with his eyes wide and sparkling. Yes, said Tamaki. That was when Izuku started to vibrate. Everyone stared at him concerned, then the rest of Class 1 remembered his quirk analysis hobby. But the big three were still concerned. "Why is he vibrating like that?" asked Mirio. "This what fucking happens when his love of cooking and his damn nerdy hobby combine," said Katsuki with his eye twitching. You like analyzing quirks? Asked Mirio. I do, said Izuku. He was still looking at Tamaki. He just sighed. I wonder if you can help me, said Mirio. Please, if anything you got from your past life you won't be needed his help to come up with anything new, said Katsuki. Izuku nodded in agreement. Mirio laughed. Even though he was much more intelligent than his past life, even he knew had to admit Luffy was a genius at coming up with new moves. Sometimes on the fly. Honestly, he knew he was going to have fun coming up with new ways to use his quirk. Of course, the 6 members of Class 1A had to go back to school. But before the meeting officially. Okay, we will probably have to bump it down to 1 meeting a week for a while. I will be talking with Ryukyu, Fat Gum, and Sir Night-Eye about your schedules and we'll figure something out from there. Probably meet mostly on the weekends, plus since you all got your license, you'll probably going to end up being busy too, so yeah. As they were leaving, Mirio hugged both Katsuki and Izuku. Hey, come on. We have plenty of timer to hang out. Laughed Izuku. I know. I just wasn't expecting this. Laughed Mirio. The members of Class 1A left and the big 3 went back to their hospital rooms. Mirio, said Tamaki as they headed back to their rooms, what did you do in your past life that made them react that way? Laughed Mirio, who started to rub the back of his head. What didn't I do? Nijire giggled, getting reminded of someone from her own past life. How troublesome. Sighed Tamaki, face palming as he had his first personality shift. Both Mirio and Nijire were surprised. Past life personality, said Tamaki once he left Shikamaru mode. The Toe nodded. Still, they were reunited, and with 3 very powerful pirates in UA for now. And thought Mirio was mostly in control. When he entered Luffy mode things would get chaotic for sure, and none of them knew that soon there would be a time that would enter Luffy mode and it would change someone's life in a very unexpected way. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 88. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.